All right, man. So we are officially live.
Sounds good. Hey, Michael.
Hey, how you doing, man? So welcome back to another episode of Adapt, Attack, Advance. I am Michael Brynock. This is episode 14, and I'm excited to have my special guest, William Hollywood Hutchings of Weinbag Marketing on the show today. William and I go back way back, probably better part of at least 10 years, maybe
At
even closer to
least.
like 15 years.
Yep.
And man, how you doing?
Man, I'm great. It's great to see you. You look great. I've been following you on Instagram and checking out, all your listings in the area. And it looks like real estate's been treating you good. And it's really great to see you. We shared an office back in the day and had a lot of good times back in the, mid 2000s now. That's how long ago it was. It's kind of
Yeah, it was
crazy.
like 2000. Yeah, 2005,
Yeah.
2006.
Hard to
Man, that's
believe. Yep.
been holy smokes. Where does the time go?
I tell you.
Well, first and foremost, before we get into your company, so
Yep.
what's this? So I introduced you as Hollywood. So what's
Mhm.
the story behind being Bill Hollywood Hutchings?
Well, I guess the nickname comes, I've been a casual actor for the last couple of decades. I've been fortunate enough to be in, a handful of movies, Iron Man 3, Dogma, been in Eastbound and Down, Heart of Dixie, about 20 different movies and TV shows. It's never been a full-time passion for me, but I enjoy, getting on a movie set a few times a year, and it kind of is a little extra hobby. So yeah, so that's kind of where the name comes from. So I guess it's a little bit of a jokish name, but I can back it up a little bit. So
No, that's
yeah,
awesome,
yeah.
man. So who's the biggest star so that you've had a chance to meet? I would maybe RDJ.
Yeah, so definitely Robert Downey. I've worked with Danny McBride. I've worked with both Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, Chris Rock. I've worked with Rachel Bilson on Heart of Dixie. We spent quite a bit of time together on set. So yeah, actually just this past fall, I got to work with Russell Crowe, which was huge for me, to work with the
Nice.
Gladiators. So yeah, I've had the privilege of working with quite a few big names, over the years for sure. So
Uh, Well, man, that's awesome. Well, I know that'll be interesting to people watching and listening. Well, let's dive right into it. So, I mentioned you're a part of Weinbag, or you're actually the owner, founder of Weinbag
correct.
Marketing. So, what is your business, and how long have you been in business?
Sure. So I've had the business for 10 years. I really didn't reinvent the wheel. There's other products, out that are similar, but basically what I do, I work mostly with independent wine stores and I provide them with free wine bags that they hand out to their customers. And then we feature other local businesses on the bag. So it's basically a way for them to advertise and get some exposure, but it also kind of partners them up. It's a little bit of Main Street marketing, so to speak, because it's local businesses working with other local businesses. So I work in, I do work with Southern Shores over by River Lights here locally, but most of my stores are in Virginia, Maryland. We do some stores in Florida, Georgia, and so I do everything remotely from Wilmington. But yeah, about 30 different wine stores, and so yeah, over the past 10 years, we've been really blessed to have pretty good success with it.
Nice, nice. Let's talk. Let's dive right into kind of the first part of the interview process here of the
Sure.
show. So, you just talked about the different markets that you're a part of. So you're going to have a little bit better read and pulse on that compared to maybe some of the other folks that I've had on the show, simply because they're focused specifically in southeastern North Carolina.
Correct.
So, as far as adapting and pivoting. I view that, and the dictionary defines that really as to make fit, often by modification, and to become adapted. So,
Yep.
how have you had to create to adapt and pivot during this period of time, especially now that you're not able to do face-to-face meetings, and I'm sure a lot of yours is handshakes and building relationships.
Yeah, and so the interesting thing is, because I work with wine stores in a few different states, depending on the state, some are more restrictive than others as far as businesses, what can remain open, and what has to stay on lockdown. So that's been one thing. What I've really had to focus on, because I work with a lot of medium-sized businesses, hair salons, massage therapists, dentists, etc. I've had to really kind of go after the businesses that are still working, like landscaping, garden centers, auto detail companies, businesses that can operate without being around a lot of people. That being said, at least 50% of my business is out of the photograph right now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so, but I took after things really kind of hit, like we were talking about earlier, about mid March. Everyone was kind of in shock, and a lot of businesses were starting to shut down. So I took a couple weeks just to kind of give people their space, and then once things started to settle in a little bit for folks, I started to kind of get back and contact some clients. One thing I did do was reach out to all my wine stores, check in with them, see how they were doing, and of course they're booming. They can't keep the wine on the shelves, which is really no big surprise with everyone being stuck home and kind of the stress that a lot of people are going through. So that's been positive for them. And then, like I said, for me, reaching out to businesses, and we're kind of at the point now where reality has hit most people. So when I call them for advertising, I think a few weeks ago people might have been a little bit upset or perturbed, but now most people realize, well, they're either working or they're not working, and they're trying to get a game plan for the next step. So they're open to talk. It's just, as you know, Michael. I mean, if you're in a business and your profit center stops, you really can't spend a lot of outgoing money for advertising and extras. So that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, you kind of go in a little bit of cash preservation mode
Correct.
because you
Correct.
don't know what your burn rate's going to be,
Right.
and how
That's right.
long is this thing going to really last. But it's interesting you mentioned you've had to pivot to the people that you're calling on. So you've realized, okay, I need to start calling on these essential businesses that are still open,
Correct.
that are still generating revenue. Have you had to go to more things like what we're doing right now because you cannot do the handshakes and smiling faces, doing more of
Well,
the
Michael, honestly, for the last few years, most of my business has been online, phone calls, and with the technology we have now, I can do most of my sales from Wilmington using technology. So for me, I have not had to pivot a whole lot. It's been pretty familiar territory for me. But like I said, I know a lot of businesses that are used to doing that. For you, for example, real estate, I know that a lot of people are doing online tours
Mhm.
now and open houses, and so I certainly understand. But for me, I haven't had to change a whole lot, to be honest with you. It's been pretty consistent, is what I've done for the last few years,
Well, that's great, man. So you're already set up for a
pretty
situation like
much.
this. Now it's just a matter of just adjusting to who you're calling on.
Pretty much, yeah. And like I said, we're hoping that, day by day, week by week, we're going to start to see more and more people be able to return, at least on a limited, a limited basis. We know it's going to be tougher for bigger things like restaurants, and things are going to take longer. But I'm hoping that we can start to see some, things like hair salons and things. They may have to limit how many people that are in the salon at a time, but to at least get their business
Just
resuming again, which
yeah,
would be
try to just get it started.
correct.
Yeah. Well, this has been great so far. Let's dive into the attack portion. So I kind of view this as two parts. One, there's attacking the problem itself with what you're doing for business techniques and tactics. But
Right.
two, making sure that during this period of time, you touched on earlier about especially the wine stores, and they're seeing a bump, actually pretty significant increase in sales
Correct.
because people are stressed out. So, what are you doing, one, to attack the problem as far as your business activities, but also are you doing anything as far as for your mindset? Are you reading any specific books to stay focused in on how do you move forward and attack this problem and not let the problem attack you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty positive thinking person. I haven't. I think for me, after taking a couple weeks and kind of stepping back, my main thing was I just wanted to stay in the game. I wanted to be in contact with clients, even if I wasn't getting the type of response that I typically do. I say iron sharpens iron, so it's just, I want to make sure that I'm continuing on my business game. But no, I really haven't looked outside too much as far as reading any books or anything, on the subject. I've just really been trying to focus on what I do, and really, like I said, just really kind of pinpoint the direction and the people that I need to contact. So
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and yeah, I wasn't necessarily talking about reading up necessarily on COVID, but just on, just things, reading up on things in your industry and to basically to, like you're talking about iron sharpening iron to improve.
Yep.
But sometimes action is the best way to, to eliminate any fear. Just take some
Yeah.
action.
Yeah, and that's it. And I knew that that would be the best way to go about it. And like I said, but the cool thing about it is, I'm talking with potential clients and just kind of getting a feel and a read as to where they are. And some, like I said, I had a landscaping company buy an ad off of me yesterday, and they're booming, and I'm happy for that. But then I, talked to some other businesses. For example, I have a client that owns a couple full service car washes down in the Williamsburg, Virginia Beach area. And he's been a client of mine for a decade. And he said business is down like 80% for him, and
Wow.
so, yeah. And so, and I feel for him, for sure. So I guess if there's any comfort in this, is that it's not like like when here on the coast, as we get hit by a hurricane, we kind of feel like it's us against the world. But with this, pretty much the whole world is dealing with it on some level. And, there are a few businesses that are prospering, but for the most part, everyone's just trying to kind of feel it out and figure out their next step, especially, mid-sized businesses, small and mid-sized businesses, which really are the backbone of the country. I mean,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and, I think it's great that I know I've gotten a little help from the SBA for disaster, and I think it's great that they're stepping in and helping some businesses out. I know unfortunately some might not make it out of this, but I'm hoping and praying that most do for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm right there with you. I think the pain that's going to unfortunately be felt in the small business community is going to be a little bit more long lasting and may
Yep.
not be an immediate impact. It may be something where you see 3-6 months down the road because they just can't, their cash flow position just doesn't allow them to remain open.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Um,
like I told you earlier, I mean, I'm actually to supplement a little bit. I've been working early mornings for FedEx and just which is actually, I'm having kind of a fun time. It's a good workout, just loading some trucks for 4 or 5 hours a day, meeting some cool people and just kind of seeing how the whole operation works over there. But I think people right now, just need to do what they need to do and get through it for sure. Obviously, we've never seen anything like this in our lifetime. I don't think most people have.
yeah, and I think
Right.
that's probably the biggest unknown that a lot of people have. Let's take the medical side out of it because you have
Yeah.
professionals working diligently daily to handle that, but I think it's the unknown of, okay, how long is this going to last, and what does
Correct.
the new normal look like on the other side of this thing?
Right. Right.
Um, and because like you talked about earlier, which was an interesting point, and when we do have a storm like a hurricane or severe thunderstorm or something like that, we have warning. We know when it's going to happen. We have a general idea of how long it's going to last, and we know what's going to happen after the fact.
Right.
This we know it's going to, with a storm, it's going to be 24, 48, maybe 72 hours, and then but this, the unknown, I think, is what and the uncertainty is what so many business owners are
Correct.
concerned about. So
Right.
I'm glad to hear that you've been able to supplement some income by working with some folks over at FedEx, but also that the SBA has been able to you've been able to get in as part of that. I think today
Mhm.
the PPP program officially hit its funding limit, so I think they're trying to
Yep.
push another 240 or so billion into it.
Right.
They just tapped out at like 340, 350 or
Yep.
today. So glad that you were able to get some of that.
Yes.
Um, let's jump into the advanced part. So I view this as sort of pushing ahead, sort of almost like in war, because we are in sort of a wartime.
We are.
We're in an
Yep.
economic war right now, and also a physical or medical war.
Sure.
So as far as pushing ahead, so to accelerate the growth of or progress of, to bring forward for notice, consideration, acceptance, but also to just bring forward in time. So how are you moving forward and proceeding? So as we navigate through these times, um, you think you'll continue to implement some of the things that you've been doing right now, as far as calling maybe on some of the businesses that weren't necessarily businesses in your previous pipeline, but maybe are now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like you said, necessity is kind of the mother of inventions, and so I think you're right. There will be some things learned here, and as far as, and hopefully maybe picking up some clients that I was not aware of before. So that's right. I think that, and maybe not as much for me personally as in other types of businesses, because I'm somewhat straightforward in what I do and the types of businesses I typically contact for advertising. But yeah, I think that you just have to go into it positive, and know that we are going to get through this. I mean, we're going to get back to normal. It might be a little bit of a new normal for a while, but we'll get out of this. We will be doing business again. Hopefully in the very near future.
Absolutely. Well, last question that I want to leave you with, and I appreciate you taking time on a Thursday afternoon to
Of
talk with
course.
me. Uh, what can people do right now if they're in one of those businesses to where they are generating revenue, or maybe they are in a business that has been closed, but they realize, okay, I need to attack this problem head on, so that way when the gates open up, I need to be in the forefront of the consumer's mind. What can they do to do business with you during this period of time?
The thing with what I do is when people participate in our advertising programs, the programs last for 6 months to a year. So it's a situation where we're not just talking about something tomorrow. I think that the way I'm trying to promote things right now is, if we get you involved now, when the advertising comes out in a few weeks, hopefully we're going to begin to be on the other side of this. And then as you do kick off back into this, you've already got some exposure, working for you. So that's kind of the mindset that I'm trying to set, is that, I realize cash is tight for a lot of businesses, as funding's not there, but you have to think 2-3 months down the road, that basically you want to be out of the gate running hard, and ready to go, when because for a lot of businesses, when things get back to normal, they're going to be very busy. Hair salons are going to be very busy. Nail
Yeah.
salons are going to be busy. Massage therapists are going to be busy, because people need these things. And so when the gates finally open, it could be a good time for a lot of businesses. They might be hurting now, but they might make up a lot of ground in the months after, for sure.
Man, I love it. I love the optimism. I certainly hope that's the case, and definitely I believe that will be the case, especially on some of these things. I know my wife can't wait to see her hairstylist. Man, she's
Right?
she's
Yeah.
between that and getting her nails done. I think she'll be the first in line, man.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get out to some concerts and do some, cooling back to the movie theaters. I know some of the bigger venue things might take a little bit longer, but yeah, we all definitely want to get back to that type of activity, for sure.
Yeah, you're right. I think the social distancing has caused a lot of us, myself included, to really appreciate being inside of a crowded bar, or to be
Yep.
inside of a crowded restaurant, because
Cor-
that certainly beats the alternative of what we're experiencing right now.
Correct. That's right. That's right.
Well, man, I appreciate it. How can people get a hold of you if they want to do some advertising with you?
Yeah, sure. They can. They're happy to email me. My email's pretty easy. It's coolwinebags@yahoo.com. I've got a website, freewinebags.com, and or you can hit me up on my business phone, 910-262-6294. So,
Awesome, man. Well,
oh, and obviously Instagram. I'm on Instagram, Hutchings4 on Instagram. So I'm all over the place. So,
nice.
yeah.
Do you have a business Facebook page? If so, I'll tag you up.
I don't do Facebook, but like I said, I do have the website, Free Wine Bags. So,
All
yep.
right. Perfect. Well, I'll be sure to post up the web link in the
Cool.
comments. Well, man,
Great.
buddy, it's good seeing you. I'm so glad to.
Yes,
It's always good to talk with you, man. You always have such a great
definitely.
outlook on things, and we'll we'll be rocking through, man. I look forward to seeing you real soon.
Hey, let's grab a beer soon. Good seeing you, buddy.
Let's do it. All right, thanks.